digging stuff up, and specification in folklore, which is the study again of what people know. And when I found out that people know a lot, we live in a world that's always saying, you need to go and find this out, right? Go to the experts. But we have them a lot of times in our own family. We are, and I'll give you an example too, Sharon. We're in a moment where people are having colds. Colds. Does anybody have don't go to the store to buy stuff for colds? What do you do to manage colds? Yes?
I use CBD oil.
CBD oil. Well, that's a growing trend. Does anybody have a home remedy for colds? Yes.
Honey and lemon juice.
Okay. So stuff out of your kitchen. Honey, lemon juice, tea. When I was growing up, they had something called hot toddies. Put some ginger and some cinnamon and hot pepper and maybe a little bit of whiskey off in there. Whoa! One of the main going trends is, or home remedy, is chicken soup. Plain old fat, they call it Jewish penicillin. I make a big chicken soup when I start to have inklings of a cold, but guess what? A cold is a natural process in the body. It is generally, and you'll notice cold season, they call it. It starts to fall right around the time of fall with this water. We're running in and out of air conditioning, heat. We're wet. It's very easy for the immune system to become compromised. So I started off studying those things, and then I went back to school. I went to Berkeley. I got a doctorate degree in history and started studying what's called global studies, which is why I brought that globe, because my awareness had grown to the idea that we're all starting to do this. There's the interconnecting, we call it the internet. There's no place, almost virtually, that we don't have access to in some way because of satellites. Now, if you all stop me if I start talking about something that you don't, what does that mean? Okay? But I don't think anybody here is unfamiliar with satellites because of this.
Yeah.
This did it. And it hasn't even been around that long. Apple introduced this in 2007, their first iPhone. We had cell phones before that, but this became the smart thing, right? Mm-hmm. Smart, that was so smart. And so we are now living in a world where things are bouncing up and down. A lot of it is unseen, Vivek. A lot of it is the idea that we need to be safe, right? Stuff we can't see, dangers out there. Let me make sure I can call. As I said, I have a little bit of hamburger. I've done a lot of stage work, but for the most part, my passion is around health. When I turned 55, and they started sending me the ARP stuff, and I was like, I had already been on a mission, if you will, had traveled, been part of, a family that emphasized, this is more important to you than $5 billion. Give me $5 billion, but make me sick. And I'll show you somebody who's not happy, who doesn't have joy, who's not, I sometimes use the figure of Jesus, who walked all the time. They weren't running around. There's one time he gets on a mule. But they were not running off and on planes and trains and flipping and in the car and SUVing. They were walking. And there's a picture of health that I draw from some religious texts where you have people, and even Buddha, who is this big, he's sitting down and contemplating, but he's still. There's an emphasis on calmness and on peace, being still. So my passion developed around the fact that these, and as great as they are, as much fun as this thing is, these things have begun to inundate us in ways that are out of our comfort zone. We're not always sure wait, that one's not working. My slides didn't come up. Do I have a plan B or C? Yes, I have to, because I've learned it. I worked with Apple computers for a few years in a laboratory when they were still developing the little squares. Remember the little squares? And now they're into flatter, sleeker, almost, nano-ish technology. Star Trek, they have these little buttons, and then they can talk to everybody. Is everybody out there? Okay, hello, this is the captain speaking. Let's go on a ride. So I invited you here, and I asked the Wellness Center again. I've been trying to work with them actually for the last couple of years. Part of what I do, and I want to get this out of the way, because recently I got an invitation to be a presenter with a company. And they sent me we really like what you do and blah, blah, blah. So they said, well, here's our product. We're hoping that you'll be part of what we do. We're going to pay you $28,000, right? So this email I get, and one of the short story is they wanted me to watch something, be involved in their service for a 2-hour program. It wasn't until the end that they told me they wanted me to pay them. Now, do you all know that feeling of disappointment? And I was suspicious, and yet I knew that the invite appeared. And I see so much of this. This has happened to me several times recently, because I'm out here, I do several things. I've got a side gig, this, and they call this the gig economy. I'm regularly pursuing ventures. And so on more than one occasion, I've had someone contact me with what appeared to be, we're ready to interview you, and we want you to come aboard. And in one case, it was some people in Charlotte. And I let them know, I said, well, you all, we have phones now. And not only phones, but I can see you. You can see me. I have a Skype account. Why don't we talk about, I have questions. Well, we want to give you, again, $55,000 million to do this. And I said, well, before I, make a 3-hour venture into Charlotte from my location, tell me more about you. Well, no, we can't do that. Well, I'm immediately suspicious. And I'm like, you got to give me a name, a phone number. I go on Facebook and I see it's a sales company. So I know that they were going to have me invest. And I say this to you because I want it right out of the way. I run a service, peace training. There's a cost. You get today free and pizza. We're giving you that. I want you to know what you can have after. And in a very, you don't have a pointer or anything, do you? Like a pointer thing. I might have one on here. Yep. Everything's on here, right? I'll write some of this down so you can, because I don't know if you can see it.
There's a laser on here.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Which one? The yellow?
Whoops, wrong one.
What happened? Uh-oh, it's gone. I didn't touch,
It's
Yeah,
okay.
it is. We saw you.
well, I was gonna touch the laser, but I wasn't sure. I have an introductory special right now, and I wanna get this out of the way, because I don't want you leaving out of here going, dang, she's talked all the time. The bottom line was she was trying to get me to buy her this and that. And then you kind of feel dashed, don't you? And what I'm doing is I want to get it out of the way, because I'm going to address some of what you've said here today, no cost, as personal as we can be in a group, which is not easy. The yellow? The yellow. There it is, thank you. So a 1-hour consultation, this is an introductory special. You may not be able to see this. I've listed it on the website, and if you want more information, we have your email. I'll be glad to send you some of this. You let me know, okay? Because it really is annoying when people kind of slither up and promise you. And so a 1-hour consultation will expand your knowledge of not only the service, which I again call peace or performance training, to have peace in your life. But it also gives you a sense of how I go about that. I am a consultant with a lot of credentials, not only doctorate and masters and this and that, but certifications in ministry. I spent 5 years in Los Angeles studying with a college, King's College, through a mega church. So we had classes for 5 years. So I have a lot of that kind of stuff that is part of my resume. Then I have a flex package for people who want to do a kind of ongoing. That's not for one consultation. It's an ongoing involvement with coaching around their specific needs. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Then I have something called the Academy class. There it is. Academy class. That's $500 for 5 weeks, basically $100 a week. And it has the startup package, you pay half up front. And then I have something called the Entrepreneur Builder. And does this allow me to, Chelsea, can I operate the computer using this? Can I like flip through my website or not?
I can do it for you.
Scroll?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'll let you know. So then I have something called the Entrepreneur Builder, which is about getting other people involved. A lot of people are coaches already. Anybody in here except for, is it Jordan? Are you his mom? Okay, except for Jordan's grandmom. Is anybody in here dealing with children at home? Teaching at home? Grandchildren? Raised children? You know what it takes to raise a child. You don't just go, pick that up, and then walk away. And if they're little children, you show them. And you keep doing it for them until they get it. Does that make sense? So that is essentially a part of coaching. Coaching and coaches who are on the field or in the courts. Coaches who are, training athletes. What is that like? Is that an easy process? Is that something that you all think? I don't know if anybody in here has ever played soccer or baseball. Coaches sound like this. They're loud and they're sometimes sound mean and they'll sometimes get on your case. And sometimes they're nice and they give you pizza and they comfort you because you're injured and but coaching is largely about training others and getting in there with them in the game. We all need it. I love God, but God did not just say, I'm going to take care of all your problems. He said, I'm going to put a brain in you, and I'm going to give you some basic resources, and then you have to, right? You got to do some of this, because faith without works is what? It's dead. And so one of my gifts, if I had a gift, I was just raised up on all this word stuff. I'm giving y'all word salads straight out of a good book. I was raised on it, and so now I experience a sense of transmission of that knowledge into the space age world where we have kids who are running so fast. But guess what? Gravity is always going to pull us down. If you're running too fast, have you ever looked at a waterfall? Have you ever seen water run up? Waterfall off a cliff? Does water ever go up that way? We are all, how much water? A huge majority of these bodies are made of water. If you start rushing, gravity's going to pull that water, and before you know it, and so this notion of we take our time, we do this together, is part of what I wind up trying to impart in others around peace being still. And that doesn't mean we just constantly are sitting still, but that's where we find this peace. It's in a still small, some say it's a whisper or a voice, but it's certainly in a movement. And for those of you that are part of the Wellness Center, we have classes here. I say we because I attend them. Classes here on working on that inflammation, working on the stress. We have Tai Chi classes. We have stretch and tone. I don't think we have yoga. That's another relational movement that is slow. And it works when it comes to pains, illnesses, in combination and over time. So I wanted you to know that. Then I have something called the Company Builder, which is a big package for places that have employees. I learned all of this, again, through years of my own involvement in programs. I can't call them up here. Can you flip to the tab that says, let's see, underperforming piece, working with peace. These are some of the places that I learned this business. One was called Thompson Wealth Management in Los Angeles. A gentleman who had started an investment firm after being severely injured on an athletic court, basketball court. Well, he actually had been in a car accident. He had been a basketball player, got a lot of big money scholarship stuff. Heard that voice tell him, now give something. And recovered completely. But they had been in a devastating car accident. You all know what I'm talking about. And started a program that I wound up, benefiting from. And then I also worked with a company, oops, oh God, I'm sorry, Chelsea, I did something. How do I get out? I don't know where escape is. Menu is escape. I love that. Okay. Try not to touch the whole thing. And this is part of what the talk is today. We're going to go until about, I'm going to stop around 1 o'clock. We'll have a quick break and then I'll summarize. But I want to make sure that we get to the point of what today's talk is, which is not only historic healing, but what is this space age doing to us? Space age is making us do this. You have to peer in more. Anybody have a computer at home? Have you noticed the type getting smaller? Do you see the buttons on here? Do you know how much pressure goes into making a phone call? Used to be you had to punch it. The typewriters, you punched it. Now you slide. We're trying to build something called streamless. The experience. The experience is this wavy feeling. And this is, again, where some of these exercises, Tai Chi is one, we move like this, so that we can slow this thing down that has been pummeling all around the place. And even in our vehicles or on a plane, it's very easy to get, have you ever felt that? They call it jet lag. You ever been on something that was moving fast? And then you get off and just a ride at the amusement park will do that to you. And oh, wow, what was that? That's what we're living in. And I say that to you again after 20 years of working in this industry to some extent and seeing how it affects, I'm really worried about the young people. And I'll tell you, they have a way out. We're part of the solution. So these are some of the places that I've worked with. Robbins Research is run, now it's called Robbins International. It is run by a fairly well-known figure named Tony Robbins. He's about 6'8", giant guy, big dude. I could call up his name on here. Would you do that for me? Would you open a tab and just type in the word Robbins, just that, okay. Robbins, and his name will come up before you finish it. Okay, just put Tony Robbins. Oh, see? So that's it. If you click on this gentleman introduced me to a lot of techniques that have to do, and the name of them I'll just share with you is called NLP, stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. we are now in an age where we know a whole lot more. Are we different just because we know more? You think? 25 years ago, we did not know all we know about cancer, healing cancer. Now we have these bots and these nano bites and lots of tools. Are we different? Do you think we're doing better? If we did a data search, which we can do, yes. The answer is yes. Living longer, living better, living with less. Sorry. Because we are starting to have to learn to live with less. That's part of the deal. You can flip back to my site, and because I don't have slides, I'm just going to use some notes and I'm going to draw. Is that okay? I like to draw. But I wanted to follow up with, in the first workshop I talked about food. There's a lot of good food out here. I have some books. I'll circulate them. I don't have Peace Child. These are books that are available at a place called House of Health, which is right up the street. Right outside, you have a lot of herbal remedies. Right outside this room, they have an aisle devoted to, an entire aisle they didn't used to. It's not totally new, but it is growing. The idea that we can grab stuff to make us feel better. You can just circle these around. These books are free at the House of Health. And the House of Health is up on Washington Street near, let's see, there's a deli over there. Anybody know the House of Health?
Yeah.
I think their address is on there. They're great people. They will give you all kinds of free input. CBD oil, they sell that. And they sell a good version of it. But my whole goal in this workshop was to, and I'm going to ask Chelsea to click on on the menu. My whole goal in this workshop for today is to take us to the next stage, which is not just that foods can heal us, because they can, just like the lemon juice and honey. And a friend of mine, actually, we were just talking, Katie and I were talking about being stung by a yellow jacket. Anybody know a home remedy for that before okay, I just want to see who knows this.
Tobacco. People used to put tobacco on it and it protects them.
Really?
There you go. There's one.
Cool, I didn't know that.
There's one. Anybody else? That's a great one. Thank you. Do you wet it, or what do you do with
Yeah, my
it?
husband used to chew tobacco and he'd just take it out and stick it in there.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's so cool, I
And
didn't know
it
that.
works.
Yeah, it
Would
would
it
Chewing
draw the
tobacco?
stinger out? It would draw the stinger or just make it feel better?
even if the stinger is not in there, it just takes away that.
So cool.
burn.
That feeling.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a remedy for yellow jacket sting or bee sting? Snuff? Is it snuff tobacco too?
Yeah.
It's a different tobacco. Okay, so those are home remedies. Mine, my favorite, and I had slides on this, my favorite remedy from home, from where I learned, my mom, her mother was a registered nurse who had graduated from Fisk and Meharry Medical, and had a very soft way. She's from Tennessee. And I didn't know my grandmother, but I do now. I know her through all that I learned. Well, our remedies were at home. Something happened. Jesus, right at the top was baking soda.
Oh, yeah.
Baking soda and water. You make a paste.
Yeah.
I didn't get stung by a big bad bee until it was like the day I graduated college. I was out partying on the grass because I was like, I did this thing I'm done. And I stepped on a bee. And I was miserable. I was told, reminded to get me some baking soda, because I did all this, go to the store, buy everything, vaccine and blah, blah, blah. Still in pain, got that stuff. It drew it out. Baking soda is a tremendous home remedy. So I'm a proponent of not necessarily running to the store every time something is wrong. Again, we're in the common cold now. how many of you have ever heard start taking vitamin C? Drinking more orange juice. Vitamin C is a forerunner in our natural health cycle. But for today, I wanted to spend a moment just talking about the importance of cleansing. We can put in every kind of, and this is the kind of coaching that I do with people who are talking about they want to reduce pain, difficulties, stress, movement, improvement. We can do all kinds of, take the vitamin C, go to energy. It's probably the number one goal, besides pain reduction, that most people have. How can I get more energy? I need to get up, I gotta get going, I gotta get through this. If you have a plate, now, what'd you have for dinner last night? Anybody? What'd you have for dinner? Pardon me? Did he sign? I was gonna say, if he wants